It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You hand someone your umbrella on a rainy day because it is the decent thing to do. They take it, nod, and the next day they expect you to drive them to work. The week after, they expect you to stay late. The month after, they expect you to answer texts at midnight. The kindness you offered like a bridge becomes a toll road where every favor returns with a margin. You did not notice the hand that slipped through the gap, the quiet accounting of small debts. That is the battlefield. You stand in a room made of ordinary exchanges, favors, smiles, apologies, promises. Each interaction looks innocent. Each holds a direction. People test for edges. They press where you flinch. They watch for the sound your limits make, and then push until the sound changes. A messy kindness is not a virtue here. It is a map, and those who read maps come to take your territory while you keep chanting moral aphorisms. Just be kind, they tell you. Forgive, keep the peace, don't make waves. Those words sound like a hymn until you compare the result. Your time diminished, your voice quieter, your needs deferred. Kindness without measure is a soft fortress with no gate, grand on the outside, hollow within. The fortress invites inhabitants who will stay for free and leave behind rooms like unpaid bills. You cannot pillage what is steel, but you can live in a palace that collapses because its gate was never locked. This is not an argument for cruelty. It is an argument for clarity. The world does not owe you a moral economy. It responds to incentives. The person who always yields trains others to expect yielding. The colleague who always volunteers becomes the default. The partner who never says no becomes the partner whose desires are plundered. You trade away sovereignty a little at a time, convinced that generosity will be reciprocated as if the world were a ledger of moral credit. In truth, many transactions are strategic, not sentimental, and you must learn to read them. So learn to be velvet and iron. Velvet because the manner of a life can be gentle. Speak softly. Offer warmth that soothes. Let your voice be a room others want to enter. But iron beneath that velvet, a core of unbending lines. Decide what you will allow and what you will not. Name it, rehearse it, enforce it. The steel soft person greets with a smile and closes the door when the motive is extraction. They do not accuse. They execute rules. They do not withdraw affection as a weapon. They preserve it as a private reserve. Imagine a manager who listens to every complaint and fixes nothing, and a manager who listens, sets a boundary and enforces consequences. The first becomes indispensable and invisible. The second becomes respected and scarce. Imagine a parent who cleans every mess for a child and a parent who teaches responsibility by withholding rescue. The child of rescue learns dependence. The child of discipline learns agency. Boundaries are not cruelty disguised as kindness. They are maintenance. They are the architecture of a life. You protect your attention like currency, your time like land. When you guard what belongs to you, you do not starve others of support. You prevent their gaining by taking. The world will test your gait. It will ring bells, call you generous, call you rigid. Stay steady. The invisible hand that tries to take will retreat when it meets resistance that is calm, clear, consistent. You do not have to choose being hard or soft. Choose to be soft in presence, hard in principle. Choose to keep your palms warm and your walls firm. In that balance you hold power and peace both. Soft manners, iron limits. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolò Machiavelli. You have been taught to receive warmth as proof of safety. A compliment, a shoulder, a trending post. They arrive soft and fragrant, so you do not notice the hook. Affection is often currency first, connection second. Praise can be tendered like coin to purchase influence. A boss who lavishes approval before asking you to stay late. A friend who flatters then borrows your hours. A lover who showers gifts before quietly trimming your freedom. These exchanges pass as kindness, but their pattern is transaction. Picture a woman who praises your every skill while steering your choices with tiny repeated suggestions. Each compliment lowers a boundary. Each public praise obliges a private concession. Or consider the influencer who comments on every follower's pain to keep them engaged, then launches a product that promises relief. Sympathy builds a bridge. The bridge becomes a toll booth. A politician who offers empathy on the campaign trail will later ask for votes that reshape your obligations. The first lesson is simple. Warmth does not guarantee purity of motive. Learn to read the ledger behind kind words. Time reveals whether attention is an investment or a charge. Notice the ask that follows praise. Where there is no ask, relax. Where the praise precedes a favor, tighten your scrutiny. Ask what will be different tomorrow because of this attention. If the answer is nothing for you, then the attention bought access for someone else. Next, examine false peace, the quiet that comes before compliance. Governments call it an armistice. Rulers call it order. In private, it is the truce that requires routine tribute. Someone offers calm, and because you cherish it, you pay in small concessions. You accept the peace because it costs less than chaos, not because it honors your autonomy. That is the armistice with taxes, peace purchased with payments of will. Think of a household where arguments cease not because wounds healed, but because someone submits to keep the roof unmoved. The silence is not harmony, it is a ledger entry, another day without disruption at the cost of another quiet concession. Or imagine a manager who stops criticizing in public while increasing demands in private. The team breathes easier, but their hours lengthen. The peace felt is real, but its price is invisibly tallied in overtime and swallowed doubts. Political analogies serve because the dynamics repeat at scale. An armistice that requires taxes is not freedom. A peace that demands your surrender in small increments is maintenance for a power structure. When you accept peace to avoid discomfort, you starve future choices. Suspicion here is not cynicism. It is diagnostic. Track the pattern. Who benefits from the calm and what are they asking in return? If the peace requires recurring sacrifices from you alone, it is not peace. Now the cost of being endlessly available. Availability is sold as virtue. Be present, be supportive, be reliable. But abundance of access drains you. Imagine a well whose water is taken daily without replenishment. The well does not protest, it simply lowers. Your presence becomes an on-call resource until drought. Emotional availability without boundaries is a strategic vulnerability. You think you are indispensable, you are becoming depleted. Consider the parent who never refuses a child's demand, the partner who answers every late-night text, the employee who says yes to every task. At first, responsiveness creates trust. Later, it creates expectation. The people you helped begin to believe your limits are infinite. Your refusal becomes harder, your anger sharper, and your capacity for agency smaller. You become predictable in ways others exploit. There is a quiet cruelty in being always reachable. Callers ring at midnight, and you answer because you fear being judged unkind. Emails get immediate replies that train managers to escalate. Small favors morph into obligations that compress your time, your creativity, your choices. Your calendar fills not with your priorities but with the drafts of others. Change the architecture. Treat your attention like capital. Invest it where returns are real. Mutual respect, reciprocal effort. Growth, withdraw it from patterns that extract without renewal. The strategic person does not sever warmth, they ration it. They practice the small refusal, the delayed response, the polite boundary. These are not cruelty. They are measures that protect your reserves. Boundaries are not punishments. They are infrastructure. When you erect limits, you signal value. You teach others what currency you accept. Without boundaries, you teach them that anything will do. The well that empties cannot supply steady comfort to anyone. You must refill yourself first through rest, solitude, craft, and time, with those who replenish rather than withdraw. When warmth is currency, when peace is a taxed armistice, and when availability becomes depletion, your choice is clear. Stop interpreting comfort as sanctuary. Learn to translate gestures into contracts. Ask who benefits most from this calm. What will be requested when gratitude is worn thin? Preserve your energy by refusing to fund other people's security with your boundless supply. This is not an argument for isolation. It is strategy for sustainable connection. Authentic love, true partnership, and durable alliances are not built on daily tributes paid under the table. They are built on reciprocity, clarity, and the refusal to confuse being liked with being owned. Do not mistake kindness for permission to spend you. Be deliberate, be frugal with your warmth. Protect the well, trade when it serves you, and refuse when it costs who you are. Keep your well full. Spend your warmth as choice, not debt. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolò Machiavelli. Your history prints on you like a cipher. The flinch, the quick apology, the need to explain are coordinates that reveal where your defenses are weak. The past does not live only in memory, it programs the body and the pulse. A childhood dismissal taught you to shrink, and the body tightens at the hint of reproach. A teacher's laughter taught you to brace when an idea is questioned, and now your voice constricts before thought is finished. You do not merely remember the wound, you enact it, and the enactment becomes visible. This observation is forensic, not moral. We are not indicting sensitivity. We are exposing cause and effect. Visible reactions are data. When you flinch at anger, you tell provocateurs where to aim. When you plead for reassurance, you mark the places someone can press for control. A partner who senses your fear of abandonment will withdraw and wait for you to return rather than confront you. A supervisor who senses your hunger for praise will withhold it and sculpt your labor. Predictability becomes a signature, and that signature becomes a map others use. Emotional wounds are strategic liabilities. Imagine your psyche as a fortified city. Each healed wall is a defense. Every unhealed scar is a breach in the ramparts. Shame, rejection, the chronic ache of not being seen are gaps through which influence slips. An adversary does not need to storm the walls if they can find the gatekeeper who will open them. Your fear of insignificance broadcasts what you will sacrifice for attention. Your shame signals what you will hide and what you will defend at all costs. In that breach, others find leverage and direction. Be blunt. Your pain is information. When you answer with rage, you launch a flare that attracts manipulators who know which buttons you carry. When you sink instantly into guilt, you reveal the price at which you will concede. A rival who spots your pride will bait it until you overreach. A romantic partner who recognizes your propensity for guilt will promise rescue and then quietly withdraw support until you bargain yourself into compliance. These are not poetic metaphors. They are observable tactics in boardrooms, dating scenes, and family dinners. If wounds are liabilities, the remedy is internal command. Mastery of your inner state is a tactical skill worth training. This is not stoic suppression. It is regulated response. It is learning to feel without ceding the steering wheel. The first instrument is the practiced pause, when the familiar tug rises. The tight breath, the heat in your chest, the impulse to speak. Delay, take 3 measured breaths. Name the impulse inwardly. For example, this is old shame. Naming converts a reflex into an object of observation. The pause creates a doorway where before there was only motion. Begin an emotional audit. Catalog the triggers you can reliably reproduce. Record the scenes that light your wires. Public critique, perceived neglect, scarcity of attention, trace each wire to its origin. Which humiliation taught this pattern? Which loss carved this route? This audit is ledger-like and clinical. It is reconnaissance, not self-reproach. With a map, you change how you move. You stop walking the only path you know and begin to build alternatives. Practice interruption and rerouting. If pride is your Achilles heel, script brief, measured replies that refuse the bait. If guilt is the lever, rehearse boundary phrases and a holding pattern. For example, I hear you, I will consider this. Allow silence to be a tool rather than a retreat. Silence robs a manipulator of immediate feedback and forces their strategy to reveal itself. Let indifference be trained as discipline, not cruelty. Let it be the refusal to perform a script written by another. Redirect the energy of the wound into private mastery. The urge to prove your worth can be repurposed as discipline. Work quietly on skill rather than perform for applause. The hunger for reassurance can be met by standards you impose upon yourself rather than the approval you chase. The ache of neglect can be addressed by building systems to catch you. Reliable routines, crafted habits, investments in competence that do not depend on external validation. This conversion keeps the wound honest while removing its authority over your choices. Test these changes in small public trials. Enter conversations where you expect provocation and practice the pause, the name, the neutral reply. Test a boundary with someone who tends to guilt trip you and observe whether the relationship adapts or depends entirely on your old reflexes. You will forfeit some immediate comforts, the rush of vindication, the safety of being needed, and gain strategic clarity. You will learn which attachments were conditional and which are durable. That intelligence is power. Emotional sovereignty is strategic independence. A prince who cannot command his household is vulnerable to servants. When you cannot govern the household of your inner life, external actors become proprietors of your behavior. Mastery gives you options. It lets you choose when to fight, who to trust, and where to invest your energy. It allows you to wield emotion as an instrument rather than be wielded by it. Composure is not cowardice, it is command. Be practical. The drills are simple. Pause, name, breathe, reroute, rehearse. Repeat them until your nervous system learns new pathways. The aim is not to become unfeeling, but to be unreadable at the moments exploiters count on. You remain human and available, but you refuse predictability. You convert scars into private engines of strength and resilience. In the end, sovereignty is refusing to let a wound set your terms. Recognize where you are legible, seal the breaches, and command your responses as if they were troops in formation. The world will still press and rivals will still prod, but you will answer on your timetable with your language by your rules. Until you master your wounds, someone else will. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Niccolò Machiavelli. You hold the phone like a detonator, and nothing happens. The message sits unread. You stand at the threshold with a bag of last reserves, and the door closes, not as anger but as finality. That moment is a small battlefield, the silence that follows a poured-out life. You spend hours tending others' wounds, arranging peace, smoothing edges, and now even the echo of your name returns as absence. This is the dramatic breaking point. The phone unanswered, the promise unkept, the last kind gesture returned empty. You had rehearsed sacrifice until it felt like identity. You were the steady hand who fixed what was broken. You were the mediator, the parent who gave, the partner who softened sharp edges. Those roles became your armor. They became your script. Tonight the armor falls away, and you see the raw skin beneath. The tapestry you thought whole begins to fray. Threads you never noticed loosen, the yes you gave to avoid silence, the favors you offered to avoid being alone, the compromises you made to keep peace. There is cruelty in this collapse because it is cumulative. Not a single betrayal, but many small dispensations of self finally add up. You count them like coins until you realize you are bankrupt of yourself. This low point feels like political defeat. Your authority misallocated, your influence spent on weathering others' storms, your personhood used as supply. In the quiet aftermath, you taste anger, or a cold grief that sharpens thought. Either reaction is a compass. Both tell you where the breach was. You feel confused. Who are you when your role is gone? You ask the mirror a question you never expected. Who was I when I only gave the reflection answers with unfamiliar eyes? Hollowed where self once lived. Identity until now was stitched to duty. You were parent and peacemaker, partner and refuge. You mediated, you fixed, you performed generosity, and in doing so, you allowed your own edges to dissolve. The unraveling is visible. Imagine a woven rug pulled at one corner. The threads loop and slip, and the image flattens into loose fibers. That is what it feels like to lose yourself in roles. Each role had its color and texture, and you wore them until their dyes bled into each other. Now you sit among threads, fragments of intention and habit, and the question is not only what was lost, but what remains. Inventory, what you can salvage. Steadiness, a taste for truth, patience, a disciplined hand. These become the materials for repair. Consider modern tests, the message left unread, the forwarded complaint at work, the viral clip that rewrites your story. Each is a probe into your defenses. Treat them as reconnaissance, not judgment. Set concrete practices. Schedule protected hours where you refuse calls that drain you. Write short, factual responses that close threads. Rehearse a single sentence to use when provoked, so you do not improvise your collapse. Enlist a small council, trusted friends, or a coach who will offer honest feedback and keep you accountable. Recognition is the first act of strategy. Machiavelli teaches that a defeat contains its map. You have been shown where your borders were porous. Your fortifications failed at predictable gates. You did not defend your time, your dignity, your narrative. The opponent was not always malice so much as indifference. They accepted your gifts and left when convenient. This is painful to admit, but necessary. The moment of collapse clears the field. After a siege, commanders inspect the walls and catalog the breach so they know where to strengthen. From ruin to readiness becomes tactical work. First, accept the geography of loss. Name what was given away, and to whom. Make a ledger not of blame, but of facts. This diminishes melodrama and converts mourning into intelligence. Second, gather salvageable pieces, rituals of discipline you abandoned, skills you can redeploy, habits that once grounded you. Third, draft a plan in measured steps. Rebuilding requires method more than mood. You will not be reborn overnight. You will be reinforced incrementally. Practice the discipline of small refusals, and watch the world respond. People who consumed you will balk. They will label you distant or cold. That reaction is useful information. Those who retreat were incidental. Those who remain are allies, not users. Measure loyalty by others' willingness to adapt to your new limits. This is not vengeance. It is triage. It preserves you so you can serve again by choice, not compulsion. Rebuild like an engineer, not an artist. The new self needs structure, routines that anchor you, commitments that are tracked, honest conversations with those who mattered under the old pattern. Relearn the posture of asking for reciprocation, and notice how it shifts negotiations. Where before you avoided discomfort, you now calibrate it as a tactical tool. A curt no becomes a boundary that redefines relationships. Small returns compound into durable trust. There will be setbacks. You will reflexively perform old roles. That is expected. When you stumble, return to inspection. What triggered you? Which thread snagged? Which loyalty whispered? Each mistake is data. Record it, learn, adjust. Over time, small corrections accumulate into a sturdier design. This is the patience of reconstruction. Emerging from collapse is not serene. It is focused. It is the moment a commander lights a single lamp in a ruined fortress and begins to map what to rebuild. It is gritty, unromantic work that requires patience and the refusal to be seduced by easy compassion that demands your disappearance. From this vantage, your defeat becomes a seedbed. You are not merely recovering what you lost. You are building what you should have been defending all along. You will stand again not as the person who gave until empty, but as someone who gives from choice, not compulsion. You will reweave the tapestry with stronger threads, clarity, limits, and the discipline to protect them. Power, in Machiavellian terms, is not cruelty, it is prudence. Use this collapse as your blueprint. Inspect, salvage, reinforce, and advance. The siege exposed weak stones, now you mend the walls. Rebuild with restraint, give by choice, and never let absence become your definition. Better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, you were taught to call it love because it soothed you. Promises, late-night confessions, the ritual of attention, they felt like warmth, so you named them devotion. But warmth can be rented. Many offers of affection come packaged with conditions. Silence in exchange for comfort, compliance in exchange for praise, availability in exchange for approval. Those are not accidents, they are signals. Naming the masquerade is the first act of liberation. You must learn to separate kindness that costs nothing from kindness that extracts everything. Naming the masquerade is surgical work. Listen to the clauses hidden in soft sentences. Does affection arrive only after you change some part of yourself? Does praise follow performance and disappear with your usefulness? A partner who says, "If you loved me, you would," is not requesting intimacy. They are issuing terms. A friend who appears only when your presence increases their standing is not practicing solidarity. They are trading for advantage. A boss who rewards flattery more than results is bargaining with esteem. When you translate these moments into language, the spell fractures. You learn to say, that condition is not love, it is a price. Naming is not cruelty, it is clarity. It gives you the vocabulary to refuse unfair bargains. Freedom lies in seeing motives. The moment you see the puppet strings, the performance stops holding you. Motives are maps. They reveal why someone stays, why they leave, and what they hope to gain. Once you can read those maps, you reclaim choice. This is not cynicism. it is orientation. Consider the ordinary scene. You apologize again and again to keep peace, while the other's warmth returns only after concessions. Before sight, you are trapped in a loop of repentance. After sight, you understand the mechanism at work and can decide whether to keep paying the toll. Knowledge dissolves compulsion. You do not become cold, you become lucid. You begin directing your attention where it yields real return rather than temporary appeasement. This clarity matters in modern forms. On social platforms, influencers barter intimacy for engagement and manufacture dependence through curated vulnerability. Corporations design loyalty programs that feel like belonging but demand data and obedience. Even in families, praise withheld until a child produces achievement trains performance rather than personhood. Seeing motive allows you to disengage from these economies. You stop seeking validation on someone else's terms and start defining the terms you will accept. Detachment is the instrument that follows understanding. Detachment is not cruelty, it is conservation. To detach is to place boundaries around your time, your esteem, and your emotional labor. Boundaries are not punitive walls, they are fences that protect what you have cultivated. When someone expects unconditional access and you insist on terms, you are enforcing worth, not inflicting revenge. The culture of generosity often weaponizes guilt to keep you yielding. Recognize that guilt is sometimes an extraction technique designed to make you pay more for the same affection. Practice detachment with humanity. Withdraw access without dehumanizing the other person. Say, I will not continue a pattern that harms me, rather than condemning and shaming. This sentence functions both as boundary and as invitation to renegotiate on fair terms. You preserve compassion while asserting limits. Manipulators expect emotional theatrics or submission. You offer neither. Your calmness reorganizes incentives. Scarcity of availability rewrites perception. When your affection is not free for the taking, its value rises in other people's estimation, and their behavior begins to change. This posture is Machiavellian in its clarity, not its coldness. The strategist seeks alignment between investment and return, not needless harm. You will still give attention, care, and loyalty, but from a position of sovereignty, you will invest where reciprocity exists and retreat where dynamics are extractive. That discernment is not moral bankruptcy, it is stewardship. You steward your life so that your generosity sustains you rather than depletes you. In households where love is conditional on achievement, children learn to perform for approval. When you refuse that transaction, you model worth unbought. There will be those who call this cynicism and accuse you of losing tenderness. They confuse availability with virtue. Tenderness without boundary is capitulation. Strengthful love is measured and discerning. It chooses where to pour itself and where to conserve. When you are sovereign in your feeling, you are capable of deeper generosity because your contributions are voluntary and intact rather than coerced by need. You are no longer a vessel poured into by others. You are an architect who allocates presence with intention. So name the masquerade. See the motives that once blinded you, detach with firmness and with care, transform the wound into lesson and the loss into clearing. Do not plead for a place in someone else's script. Write your terms. When you do, you will discover that what you mistook for love was often leverage, and that you are entitled to something truer, connection chosen freely, not purchased under pressure. This is sovereignty, and it reshapes your choices. Detachment is preservation, not punishment. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You will build boundaries, not as punishments, but as architecture. Boundaries are walls with doors, precise, purposeful, and guarded. They tell the world what you will allow, who you will admit, and what consequences follow transgression. This is not tyranny, it is structure. You are the engineer of your life. The first step is to design simple rules that you can enforce without debate. Start with short, clear rules. Say them to yourself and to others in plain sentences. Example, I don't accept last-minute cancellations without notice. I will not be spoken to with disrespect in this home. I will not do unpaid work that duplicates what I've already completed. Keep them under 15 words. Keep them practical. When you speak a boundary, use present tense and an action consequence. If you arrive late, we will start without you. Ritualize enforcement. When a rule is broken, perform the action you announced. Do not negotiate the consequence in the heat of the moment. Let the ritual be the message. Create admission criteria for your inner circle. Who gets to speak freely in your presence? Who receives support? Who is allowed your time? Write 3 categories: essential, occasional, forbidden. Essential people get priority. Occasional people get scheduled time. Forbidden people get distance. Use rituals to mark movement between categories. A private message for promotion to essential, a note of boundaries for demotion, and a clean formal goodbye for removal. These rituals remove ambiguity and make transitions visible and humane. Use specific language. Say, I can do this once, but not twice. I will help, provided you accept my terms. I won't discuss this here. Short scripts remove drama. Practice them aloud until they sound natural. The moment your boundary is tested, deploy the script, and then do one thing: leave. Absence enforces rules more cleanly than argument. Next, learn to hold limits with strategic empathy. Strength without warmth becomes brutality. Warmth without strength becomes weakness. Combine firmness with readable kindness. A velvet glove that hides an iron fist. Begin sentences with an empathetic truth. Then set the limit. Example: I understand you're stressed, and I can't take on more work this week. Or I see you're upset. I need space to think, so I will step away for an hour. This pattern acknowledges the other's feeling while making the consequence clear. Use sampled dialogues to practice. If a partner nags about your time, you respond, I know you want more hours, I value that. My schedule is full. On Wednesdays I can be present. If you need more, let's arrange help. If an employee misses a deadline, say, I understand things happen. This delay affects the team. Next time we'll set a buffer. Repeated delays will change your responsibilities. Keep tone calm, voice low, and choices explicit. People accept limits when they see fairness and predictability. If someone pushes past your limit, avoid instant escalation. Restate the rule, name the consequence, and follow through. Do not plead. Do not justify. Strategic empathy is humane because it preserves dignity while defending your domain. It keeps relationships intact where they are useful and severs ties where they become poison. Now turn the inner shadow into supply. Fear can be vigilance. Neediness can become resourcefulness. Rage can become calibrated energy. Reframe each weakness as an input. Fear tells you where to fortify. Neediness reveals what you value most, and thus what to invest in or retract from. Rage highlights the injustices that deserve correction. This alchemy is not spiritual fluff, it is applied psychology. Practice the pause and count. When a surge hits, inhale and count to 6. Exhale and count to 8. During the count, name the feeling aloud in a phrase, this is anger. Then ask a tactical question, what would skillful response look like? Count builds distance and turns reactivity into choice. Over time, the pause becomes your default. Use script rehearsal to convert heat into action. Write a short script that channels the emotion into a plan. Example: after being dismissed at work, your script reads, I will document the meeting, request feedback by Friday, and propose a plan. Repeat the script 3 times, then execute the first step. Script rehearsal turns humiliation into a sequence of tasks. The energy that would fuel a rant now powers measurable movement. Use physical rituals to anchor transition. When anger occurs, walk for 10 minutes at a brisk pace. When fear tightens, write 3 practical contingencies. When neediness aches, call a mentor and ask for one small task to focus on. These small, repeated acts rewire emotional responses into disciplined behaviors. Measure outcomes and iterate. Keep a simple log, boundary tested. Response used, consequence enforced, result, review weekly. If a particular rule is being routinely violated, either adjust the rule or tighten enforcement. This makes your boundaries practical rather than performative. Every boundary you build is ethical when it protects your capacity rather than punishes others. Machiavellian boundaries are about sustainability. You preserve your strength so you can act where it matters. You are not building walls to hurt, you are building thresholds to allocate your force wisely. When you meet your shadow honestly, you stop being surprised by yourself. You know where your heat lies and how to refocus it. You keep your tenderness for those who deserve it, and your iron for situations that require it. This balance creates a life where power is a tool, not a corruption. Stand now with a clear architecture. Rules you can say in one line, rituals you can perform without emotion, scripts you recite under pressure, and pauses that convert reaction into strategy. Combine firmness with readable kindness, and let inner storms become constant fuel for disciplined action. In doing so, you become not merely someone who avoids being used, but someone who shapes the world by design. Power is a measure of what you protect, not what you destroy. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. You have been taught that peace is the soft end of a long surrender. That is comfortable advice for those who cannot hold ground. Real peace is not granted by kindness alone. It is the consequence of clear borders and steady force. When limits are defined and enforced, violence and chaos find fewer footholds. When your yes and your no are known, people learn to move within the map you draw. This is not cruelty. It is order. Peace follows order as night follows dusk. You earn the quiet by deciding what you will and will not tolerate. Boundaries are the grammar of power. Without them, your presence becomes punctuation for others' whims. With them, you compose sentences that hold meaning. Set a boundary with a colleague who drains your time. A single sentence, "I can address this after 3, turns repeated intrusion into scheduled cooperation. Tell a friend that certain topics are off limits, and conversations will deepen instead of devolving. The discipline of limits prunes opportunism and cultivates respect. This is the reassuring, resolute truth. Lasting peace is earned, not given. Peace born of power is steady, not brittle. It does not collapse the moment someone questions you. It absorbs dissent because it was built with muscle and margin. Consider the parent who enforces bedtime with calm consistency. The child sleeps better and so does the household. Consider the leader who enforces accountability. The team performs better because confusion is removed. These are modern, relatable examples where clarity plus enforcement equals enduring calm. When you act from a place of established limits, you reduce friction and increase predictability. People perform best when they know the rules. Now imagine a new posture, velvet exterior with a forged interior. You walk into rooms with manners that soothe and boundaries that cut like tempered steel. Your voice is soft, your expectations hard. You listen with gentleness and decide with iron. This posture disarms aggression while denying exploitation. It is cinematic in its paradox. Gentle hands resting on a firm spine. In relationships, you offer compassion without collapse. At work, you speak kindly and demand results. In friendships, you laugh and protect your time. The exterior invites trust. The interior prohibits violation. That archetype, gentle yet immovable, attracts different allies and repels opportunists. People who respect you come closer. Those who sought advantage evaporate. You are not a fortress built of walls and resentment. You are a house with clear doors and rules, warm inside for those who enter rightly. This image is not a mask for vanity. It is a way of moving through life that preserves energy and invites trust. Your calm becomes magnetic because it reveals competence. Others sense you will not be pulled into petty storms. Action here is simple and immediate. Begin with one experiment this week. Choose a single boundary and enforce it. Maybe stop answering messages after a set hour. Maybe say no to one meeting that distracts from real work. Rehearse a short script. "I appreciate you, but I can't engage on this now. Let's schedule for Tuesday." Practice it aloud once, then twice. Note the slight tremor in your throat, and do it anyway. Each practice strengthens the interior forge. Each enforced boundary is a deposit toward lasting peace. Make this a habit of strategic courage. Start where the cost is low and the signal is clear. Keep a small ledger of rules you will no longer break. Review it Sunday night and choose one boundary to test the following day. Celebrate the quiet that follows. The dignity you recover is not soft surrender. It is peace assembled with intent. You can choose softness as armor, not exposure. The world will not hand you peace because you ask. It will yield to the order you create. Build the borders, stand their ground. The hope here is not naive comfort, but dignified power. The life where gentleness is your choice and not your weakness. You build peace by keeping your borders.